The research station on Keth 7 had been silent for 3 rotations when the rescue team arrived. What they found defied every protocol, every xenobiological assumption, and every survival probability calculated by the Galactic Coalition's best minds. Dana Ree shouldn't have been alive. The human exobiologist had been stationed on Keth 7 to study the indigenous Kethran species apex predators with razor-sharp claws, bioelectric fur, and a pack mentality that made them the dominant lifeform on their Death World classification planet. When the plasma storm had struck, it had torn through the station's shields, killed the other 7 researchers instantly, and left Dana trapped in the nursery wing with 6 Kethran cubs, including the eldest, Vorik. The rescue team's commander, a 4-armed Velosian named Kresh, stood frozen at the nursery entrance. His thermal scanner had detected 1 human life sign and 6 juvenile Kethrans. Standard procedure dictated termination of the predators before extraction of the survivor. Kethran cubs, once orphaned, entered a feral state within hours. They would have torn apart any creature near them, except they hadn't. Dana sat cross-legged in the center of the room, her standard-issue jumpsuit torn and stained with blood, some of it hers, most of it not. Around her, the 6 cubs huddled close, their blue-white fur crackling with residual electricity. Vorik, nearly twice the size of his siblings, lay with his massive head resting on her lap, his 3 eyes fixed on the doorway where Kresh and his team stood. "Ma'am," Kresh said carefully, his translator rendering his words in Standard Galactic. "We need you to move away from the juveniles." Slowly, Dana's eyes, bloodshot and fierce, snapped to him. "You're not touching them." The cubs tensed. Vorik's growl rumbled deep enough to vibrate the floor panels. The smaller ones bared needle-like fangs, their neural crests rising in threat display. Kresh's security officer raised her pulse rifle. "Commander, permission to stand down," Dana said, her voice carrying an authority that shouldn't have existed in someone so obviously exhausted. "You fire that weapon, and I promise you won't leave this room alive." It was an absurd statement. A human, a species classified as a Class 3 sentient, with minimal physical capabilities threatening a trained coalition security team while surrounded by predators that should have killed her days ago. But Kresh had survived 40 cycles in xenofield operations by trusting his instincts. And his instincts screamed that Dana Ree meant every word. "Explain," he said, lowering his plasma rifle fractionally. Dana's hand moved to Vorik's head, stroking the dangerous creature with the same casual affection one might show a domesticated pet. The cub, if something weighing 200 kilos could be called a cub, leaned into the touch, his growl softening to something almost like a purr. When the storm hit, their mother was killed by the debris. She'd been our primary research subject, the pack matriarch. Dana's voice cracked slightly. The cubs panicked. Standard xenobiology says they should have gone feral, but I'd been working with them for 6 months. They knew my scent. They knew my voice. She gestured to a makeshift barrier constructed from overturned tables and equipment. Scorch marks and claw gouges covered every surface. The first night, they tried to escape the nursery. I couldn't let them. The storm was still raging, and the station's outer hull was compromised. They would have died in minutes. Dana's jaw tightened. So I stopped them. Kresh's tactical officer made a choking sound. "You stopped them? Juvenile Kethrans in a grief rage? I had a plasma torch and 3 emergency flares." Dana's smile was grim. "And I was louder than they were." Vorik's head lifted, his center eye focusing on Dana with what could only be described as reverence. He made a series of chirping sounds, juvenile Kethran communication that researchers had never successfully decoded. Dana chirped back. The rescue team stared. "You taught yourself their language?" Kresh asked, incredulous. "I had 72 hours with nothing else to do," Dana replied. "After I established myself as the threat, they accepted me as pack leader, temporary matriarch." She looked down at the cubs, something soft and fierce in her expression. Their children. Terrified. Orphaned children. I couldn't just abandon them. "Ma'am, with respect, they're apex predators," the security officer interjected. "Coalition law requires Coalition law can burn, Dana interrupted, that steel returning to her voice. I've kept them alive. I've fed them, protected them, taught them to trust again. You think I did that so you could execute them the moment you arrived? Vorik rose to his full height, his siblings following suit. 6 pairs of multifaceted eyes fixed on the rescue team with predatory intensity. But they didn't attack. They waited, deferring to Dana's lead. Kresh made a decision that would later require 17 committee hearings and a personal intervention by the Coalition Council. Stand down, he ordered his team. Then, to Dana, what do you need? Dana blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Transport to the Kethrin homeworld. These cubs need to be returned to a pack. Vorik's old enough to communicate our situation, the pack will understand. You realize you're asking us to violate quarantine protocols, transport unregistered predators across 3 sectors, and potentially start a diplomatic incident? Yes. Dana's smile was sharp. I'm also asking you to do the right thing. Kresh looked at the human, this fragile, impossible creature who had survived 3 days alone with orphaned apex predators through sheer stubborn will and what his people would call maternal insanity. Humans had only joined the Galactic Coalition 2 generations ago. They were still largely unknown, their capabilities underestimated. He was beginning to understand why that was a mistake. Prepare the cargo bay, Kresh told his team. We're taking passengers. As they escorted Dana and the cubs to the ship, Vorik walking protectively at her side, Kresh filed his report with a notation that would echo through xenobiological circles for decades. Human survival instinct plus protective bonding behavior equals unprecedented threat level. Recommend immediate reclassification. Previous assumptions about human weakness appear catastrophically inaccurate. Addendum. Do not threaten their young. Do not threaten anything they have claimed as their young. Species classification updated to Deathworlder. 23. Dana Ree never saw the report. She was too busy teaching Vorik how to hunt in the ship's cargo bay, her laughter mixing with the cubs' excited chirps as they played. The galaxy would learn, in time, what Vorik already knew. Humans were most dangerous when protecting those they loved.